the chat show live. And what that means is our members of Bobby's Business Club can come onto the show and they get 15 minutes to present what they do and how they help their clients. Then we have a bit of a questions and answers kind of scenario going on. And we then get another one of our members to do a 15-minute presentation. And same thing again, we ask them questions. And this is broadcast live across LinkedIn, Facebook, and also our members then also get a recording of this to be able to use in their social media channels and use that however they want. And we have two amazing members of Bobby's Business Club on today. We've got Caryn White from Caryn White Coaching. How are you?
I'm good, Bobby. How are you?
I'm good. Cold, as we just mentioned, and we are still struggling with the live button. And so it must be you, Caryn, because it happened the same thing last night. So I'm going to blame you because it's never happened before, and it's your fault. And we've got Anna Thellmann from Thellmann Coaching. How are you, Anna?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. And it's interesting because we're going to be talking about the same kind of thing, but in different kind of things. It's really weird. It's the same, but very different. So guys, if you're watching this, you're going to be getting some great information, and you can also reach out to these beautiful ladies who are experts in their fields to help you in your business or whatever it is it might be. I don't want to give too much away because I want the ladies to be able to present what they're doing. And so we're going to go straight into that. And so what happens is the ladies will present, they'll be able to share their screen, and it's just a relaxed conversation. And you guys can also send in comments if you would like. And also you can reach out to me after the show if you'd like me to connect you to these ladies, but you can also find them on LinkedIn. I'm going to shut up. It's not my time to shine. We're going to go over to Caryn. Caryn, whenever you're ready, you can share the screen and take it away.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Bobby. I'm happy to be doing this with Anna. It's exciting. I've previously co-hosted and Anna was presenting with another member, so I'm excited to actually be a bit in the hot seat today. I am going to quickly share my screen and get into this. Radio. So let's just put that up. I can just double check. You can see my screen? Yeah, awesome. Yeah. All right. Okay, so today I'm going to keep it really simple. I am a life coach. However, I think the one thing that I'm starting to find is that, as Anna will talk to you about, is like, if you own your business, you're still a person and you have a life. So I wanted to sort of take something that I do a lot with my clients, and it's really important to do, and to bring this into the business world, because I feel like a lot of people watching are also going to be business owners. So today it's about how to power up your business in 15 minutes using a 3R strategy. So it is about checking in, and I just wanted to get straight into it. So the agenda today will be looking at key stats around small business, just to remind you about what's kind of happening out there. Benefits and challenges of actually checking in on your business, and then the 3R strategy of powering up your business in 15 minutes. So this presentation is around 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to take you through this, and that's the amount of time you're going to need just to be able to do this particular strategy. So quickly, my name is my name is Caryn White. I'm originally from New Zealand, but I currently live in Singapore. So I am a life coach. I help 35 plus professional women rediscover their passion and purpose. But as I mentioned before, I've also got a lot of experience in other areas which also help towards helping business owners as well. So I think you're a human, you own a business, you still have a life, and you still have things that go on with you, right? I'm a J. Shetty certified life coach, and I've got 20 plus years experience prior to becoming a life coach in the commercial operations, accounting, budgeting, forecasting background. And with that, I'm a CPA, was a certified practicing accountant out of the CPA Australia. So with all that kind of experience, I bring that all together with my clients just to support them wherever they're at in their business or their life. So today, what you're going to learn is how to check in on your goal progress with the right questions. Then you'll be talking about how to find that resistance or gaps, what's stopping you from actually moving forward and making the progress that you're wanting to make. And with that also is how to get real with yourself, where you are at and with your business and yourself, and what you need to do to make the right changes so that you don't continue in the wrong path. So some key stats around your small business, and quite likely you might know this already. So you've got this 20%, 30%, 50%. What does that mean? 20% of small businesses fail in the first year. These, of course, obviously don't take into consideration lots of outliers in terms of external things that might impact that. But just kind of, these are just key stats, high level, to give you kind of an idea and have a think about why it's really important to do this 3R strategy. Of those remaining, 30% fail within the second year. Of those remaining, 50% fail by the 5th year, meaning that within 10 years, 30% only remain. So have a think about that. That's like a 30%. So that if you're in a room full of 10 business people, potentially there's going to be 3 of you remaining in 10 years. I suspect that lots of us, when we get into small, but like our own business, that is not our intention that within 10 years, we're no longer going to be in business, right? And key things that actually are causing this is, market demand, not being aware of whether it's a viable market, just going into it with all this passion, but actually it's not really necessarily going to be viable. Maybe you're not aware of your competitors. All your competitors come at a different time and you're not adjusting your strategies. We're looking at cash flow, super important. Not just because I've got a background in accounting and finance and all that area, but cash flow is what I myself have all looked at that as well. If you don't know your numbers, if you're not sure, if you're not tracking those kind of things and checking in on that, how do you actually know you've got enough cash to cover yourself? And you can't, and you definitely don't want to keep dipping into your savings, right? Adapting to change, that's huge. I know myself, I don't necessarily keep in touch with all the massive market trends in my space, but I know myself in my previous roles and stuff, market trends were super important. You would constantly be adjusting budgets, forecasts, all that kind of thing to actually keep in line and actually keep the business going profitable. And marketing and sales strategies, just think about that. That's your pricing, right? That's your strategies, social media strategies. Looking out there, like finding out where is your target market? Where are they going to be now? What are they wanting? All those kind of things. There's a lot behind that. I don't say that I'm an expert in each of these things, but just these key 5 points is what is, is a contributing to those factors of only 30% of the business has been left. But this is not to put doom and gloom. What I want to say here is don't give up. I know how passionate I am about my business. And I certainly, if someone said to me right now, these are the stats, and I'm not going to give up right now, right? I'm going to figure out a way of what I can do, even the smallest things, so that I can actually continue to do this. And what I'd like to say is one of the things I find really poignant is it's about checking in. Wherever you're at in your business, whether you're at the first point up here or this one over here, whatever, it is about having that check-in in time. And the benefits of regular check-ins to the business is looking at your decision-making. Okay, by doing that, you're able to make more informed decisions about where your business is going, as opposed to making decisions based on data that might be 6 to 12 to 18 months old. There's also the big continuous improvement. And I don't want to sound like a geek here, but my past roles were looking at operations and process improvement. And that part in itself is the more you know about what's going on, you're able to make those tweaks in your business and move forward through it, as opposed to having massive issues to deal with because you haven't been looking into things and then trying to put those fixes in place. As people say, right, it's like putting out fires. I'd rather be putting the stuff in place to avoid having the fires as opposed to putting out the fires when they come my way. And then change, learning how to adapt to change. It's like it just allows you to adapt to change more quickly, more efficiently, more effectively for your business, as opposed to, again, having those massive issues popping up and not being able to face them. But on the other side of the coin, there are those challenges that we all experience, and definitely in a small business field, lack of time. You are your everything sometimes. I know what this was like. It was like, oh my gosh, I am like the marketing department, the HR department. I'm the finance department. I'm the CEO. I'm the COO. I'm all these roles. And literally it's like, where do I go with this? And then I have to also deliver my product and my service to people. So lacking time is a massive challenge, as you can probably resonate around this. And fear. This can be the fear of success. What happens if I do well and here, are you ready to receive that? There's also the fear of failure. If you do try these things, if I check in and I find out this is like not going well, how do I tell people about this? How do I show up at my network and share that? Oh my goodness, I'm not doing that well. Or, maybe I'm going to have to change massively. Maybe I'm going to have to go and do something that I didn't actually want to do, but that's just to keep my business going. And then expertise. Sometimes, like I just said before, all those roles and all those hats you're having, you may not have the expertise to actually see the problems that are going on in your business. You may be thinking like, I'm actually doing really well, but you don't have that knowledge. And you need to reach out to others to help you kind of see what is actually happening, particularly if you're quite overwhelmed with a lot of lack of time and you're quite busy and stuff. Sometimes, there's that saying of like, when you're in the jar, you don't see what's going on, as you've got to come out of the jar to be able to sort of see what's on the outside and going on. And I think that's a massive sort of part of why the reason is we choose not to actually check in, because we're just like, we don't actually know. We don't have the time to do so, or we actually are fearing the results of what we actually might see. So with that, I wanted to share with you this 3R strategy that I've kind of put in place. It really helps me. And it's kind of a way what I put towards my clients one-on-one as well with their personal life. And if you can imagine in that way, looking at either your business or your life or both, how you can actually do this and how important it can be. So the first is review. That is literally asking yourself, is this goal still relevant to where I am now and who I am becoming? And I would say, ask yourself why 5 times. And you've probably heard this, right? It's like, it's not just saying, okay, this is relevant, because yep, I want to hit this target in revenue, or I want to get this many clients coming in, or whatever it might be. Why is that? Why do you want to hit that target? What is it behind that for you? Why is that so important? Is it because once you do that, you're going to start doing something else? Why are you going to start doing that other thing? Oh, because if I'm going to start doing that other thing, that means that I can reach more people. Why do I want to reach more people? Because I want to expand my business. Why do you want to expand your business? You keep going down, down, down. And if you can't answer that 5 times, then maybe that's kind of a bit of a red flag to tell you that maybe there's not enough depth behind that to actually give you the reason to continue on the goal, or to maybe restructure that goal and relook at it and see whether it's still relevant. The second is the resistance. As I mentioned before, this is really looking at what is the resistance stopping you. If, for example, you're in the review stage and you go, yep, this goal is relevant, that's brilliant, keep going with it. But also be aware that there might be some resistance that might come up in the future, or some gaps or stuff there that is actually going to maybe make you slow down. So really thinking about that, what am I afraid of if I do start? What am I afraid of if I do finish this particular goal? Like, what's going on behind there? Is there some sort of resistance or gap that may show up that you might be going along quite okay, but maybe that could be faster? And this is what this is about too, is like, you might be slowly actioning your goal, but maybe you're at a point where your goal hasn't progressed as quickly as you wanted it to be. So even though you're moving, you're taking action, there might still be some resistance that you're not quite seeing behind that you need to actually kind of go, okay, I should normally be achieving this by this time, rather than just saying, oh, let's readjust that and push that another 6 months. It might actually be you saying, actually, there's this thing kind of happening that's causing this, and I don't actually have enough knowledge. I need someone to come in quickly and just help me out and kind of rechange my mindset, or give me some extra expertise. Like I said, I don't know some things, so you need someone to come in and help you with that. So you can ask these kind of questions. There's a lot more, of course, you can ask, but these are some quick ones. You can just to put it out there. What is the resistance? And last is the reality. Is maybe sometimes when you're tracking on a goal, have a think about this in your life, your business. You kind of think, oh, I'm not achieving that because, I'm so busy doing these things. So maybe, is there something in there that you're doing instead, which maybe is a little bit simpler, not so scary, that you're doing instead, which is actually slowing you down from actually achieving the goal that you actually originally put in place and knowing you really wanted it? And I would invite you to think about that, because I know myself, there's sometimes, when it comes to daily things that you're doing, or things that are only a weekly sort of goal I've set for myself or intention, sometimes what I'm doing is I'm doing everything around it. It's not so much in the typical way that you end up cleaning the entire house as opposed to doing that one task, but it's sort of in that same sort of framework. You think about it. So be real about it. Look at the reality of what is actually happening in your situation and have a think about that. So when you look at the 3R strategy, it is a review, it's a resistance in reality. And putting those all together in terms of your goals, your intentions, and what you're doing is to really have a think. And it is about building awareness around that. And the last is like, I would invite you to highlight the key learnings in each of those stages. Don't just stop there, because if you stop there, it's a great exercise. You've spent 15 minutes on it. You have awareness, but you have to do something with it. And that is to take action. So what I do myself, and I'm sure you will do, is I have that meeting weekly with myself, but I don't necessarily check in so much on my goal stuff. I have a coach that helps me with that. But I would definitely have a regular check-in in terms of like fortnightly, just sort of checking in a little, but not as formal. And then monthly, I'm doing a massive check-in, sort of where I'm going. So obviously, this might be from my background in finance. We used to do monthly, obviously end of month, that kind of thing. But find something that works for you. Be honest with yourself. Be real, and put that into your diary and have a reoccurring. Don't just go, oh, make time for that. Put it in your diary, reoccurring, and book that time in. And I would really suggest that right now, take this strategy. Even if you think you check in regularly, just do it quickly, 15 minutes. In the next 24 hours, sit down with it, highlight those key learnings, take one of them and just do something with it. It might be a game changer for you. Maybe it's something you already know, whatever it might be, but it's really something that I would really suggest is such a powerful thing to do, just to kind of give you the extra leverage on your business. And just, it could be the massive difference of you actually seeing something. And there's no shame in seeing that, oh my gosh, I need to do something better here. Or, wow, how amazing, I am doing really great and I'm on track, whatever it might be. So key points from today's presentation. Statistics state that within 10 years, 70% of businesses fail. Okay, that doesn't have to be your truth. You can mitigate that with consistent check-ins, as I mentioned before. The key benefits to regular check-ins is around more effective decision-making, continuous improvement in your business, constantly growing on top of what you're learning, but in the right direction, and adapting to change whenever it comes your way. Sometimes it's external, sometimes it's things happening internally within you as you evolve. And you can join that 30% of small businesses that are still around in 10 years' time and that do succeed. And then adopting the 3R strategy of review, resistance, and reality. And you can schedule that 15 minutes in to your calendar and just to do a check-in. Okay, so I just want to say thank you. This is my LinkedIn, so please scan that. If you haven't already connected with me, as Bobby said, obviously reach out to him if you missed this and need to connect. But obviously, I'd love to link up with you on LinkedIn just to hear where you're at. And I would love to offer you an opportunity just to scan this and check in a 15-minute call with me to see whether there's something how I can help you, whether it's either just to share your learnings or maybe you're like, I'm not actually sure. You know, can you just give me a bit of a tweak on how to actually check in with myself and use the strategy? We can do that and can discuss and see whether maybe the 90-minute deep dive would actually work for you. So that's everything for me. I'm really excited. Thank you for having the opportunity to listen. So I'll put it back to Bobby. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you so much. And some great information, and those stats can be a little bit scary, can't they, when you say about how many businesses fail. But the great thing was, your slides are beautiful. The information is always great that you present. And so we do have a question, and we have a question from our good friend Peter. He said, how often or when should the 3 R's be done? So just want to give us a bit more of an in-depth information about how you can do that. What should you be doing? What steps do you take personally? Like, how do you know when to do it? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, like I sort of mentioned, for myself, every week, I think we all do this. We check in with ourselves anyway, sort of to plan the week ahead, sort of reflect a little bit on the week behind. I myself am probably been conditioned over time to do monthly check-ins. I do have a coach that keeps me on task, and we do fortnightly sort of check-ins as such, but the monthly is more that kind of bigger. As I look at my finance sort of side of things in my accounting, I go through that, and that's probably that time when I'm looking at my budget and my forecast going forward and going, okay, well, how am I tracking? So I've been conditioned with that monthly, and I find it really helpful. And I think when you look at the research and stuff, people do talk about that, like, monthly check-ins are good because there's so much happening. Even within a month, how much it goes really quickly, but there's so much changing. And that's what I'd invite you to do. And like that 15 minutes can be the difference between you continuing in the right direction and actually hitting your targets. Or even if you're not hitting your targets, at least you know why, as opposed to going, oh my gosh, you get to the end of the year and you go, oh, all those massive surprises, and you feel really bad. I think sometimes when you do get to that point, I know myself, even though I've got that behaviors and process, sometimes when I got really busy initially in my business, I didn't actually do my stuff for like at least 6 months. And it was almost that fear, like I didn't want to see how much I'd spent versus how much I'd actually earned and brought in. And once I actually did that and just sat down with myself and put it all into, I'm like, okay, this is normal. Normally when a business starts up, there's probably more outgoings and ingoings kind of incoming. And I think once you actually face that, you go, it's actually not as bad as I was making in my head, right? So I would definitely suggest, like, wherever you're at in your business, like weekly, obviously check-ins with your business in terms of planning for the weeks. That's what I do. If you have someone that you catch up with, either a coach or a mentor or even just a colleague or something that you catch up with, just to kind of talk about your business and share like wins and losses, whatever it might be. And then monthly ideally would be really good. I just think it's when you're doing your accounts or checking in how you've gone for the month and where you're at, just to tweak things, it'd be really good.
Cool. And you touched on like those businesses failing, and the word fail is such a strong word.
Yeah, that's why I switched it to 30% succeed, because I'm like,
because it's just like, but so many things can happen when you start a business. As an example, I started with simplified recruitment, and that's all I knew how to do. But once you start getting into business and you start meeting other business owners, you see opportunities, and there's no harm in you changing that goal. If it's something you feel more passionate about or whatever, because business is hard. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, when it's really on a bad day, you've got to still drive through it. And so don't be afraid of changing what you do. It's totally up to you how you do that. But I think the word fail is, even if you close your business down, it's not, you didn't fail. You're just changing, things change.
And I think those stats as well, like I mentioned, is when you look into the stats, I mean, they're coming from Forbes magazines, but they don't take into consideration the outliers. They don't take into consideration the external things which are completely beyond our control. So they are sometimes inflated. but it's more just kind of an awareness. And I agree with you, Bobby, like sometimes some people stay in business for all the wrong reasons because they feel like it is a failing. And I think that takes a lot of courage to actually accept that maybe this is time to stop that business and do something else for your own mental health and your own safety, whatever security in that. I think that takes more courage sometimes.
Yeah. And the other, I know you can jump in any time, by the way, just jump in. I'll just talk.
Hard to jump in.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, because what I see with new business owners, and I was one of them when I started my business, you have this make this mind map or have this fantasy about how much do you want to earn, and then you just grab a number out of thin air, but you don't know why do you choose this number, why do you want to have it. So, and for that reason, these 5 whys, why this number, and if not achieving that number, just why hasn't it worked, and maybe postpone it, maybe that's just it needs another 6 months, or maybe it needs a lower number, whatever it is. But I find many new business owners are just so hooked up on that number, and if they don't reach that number, they feel they are a big failure and it's not worth it. So I give up.
You're so right. And they don't take into consideration every other win outside of that number that they've actually had. I think, you have that number in place, like a number, and going this terms of revenue coming in, but then it also comes back to obviously the profit, as opposed to you can make 100K and lose 100K on the other end, right? And come out negative. But, I did 100K. Well, yeah, you're bankrupt. But it's sort of, I think, and it's also the other parts that you've gained. Like, have you gained reach? Have you gained, like, all these other factors, the quantifiable and the qualitative, I get those words, but that kind of stuff. But it's so true. And I was in that space too when I first started with my business. You're so passionate about what you're doing. I remember this particular course within my certification they made us do, and they actually said, you need to pick a number. What are you going to achieve? Everyone struggled, like not everyone, but most people struggle with that idea, and then how to build that up. Because once you actually chuck that in with your pricing, and actually you go, oh my gosh, how much are you going to get to that number? So it becomes a bit more, once you break that down, it becomes a bit more visible. I think that's what the beauty is of checking in, right? It's just to ask yourself those whys.
You mentioned also about we have this stigma in business that we can't talk about the bad stuff, especially in networking events or whatever. We try not to talk about the negative side of things. We want to be positive. But we all have that. We all have things that aren't going so well. And the key part about that is having a trusted circle of people to go and speak to. We're not talking about going to BNI or a networking event and speaking to, it might be somebody, 1 or 2 people. Yeah. I have them, and that it helps because there's sometimes you can't talk about everything to people, but you're having 1 or 2 people around you who are in business. There's no point having your partner unless they're in business, because they're never going to understand the pressures. And so have people, 1 or 2 of them, I have them, you can go to and go, mate, I am in crap, or this is going so well, because you need to be able to trust that person really well, because you don't really want that to be gossiped around. So make sure you have people you can rely on, who can go, hey, I'm having a tough day today, or this isn't going so well, what did you do? And have that trusted circle around you. And it's okay to change, fail. The biggest tip that I had from my coaches is fail quickly. Like, if you're trying something and it's not working, make it work not really quick so you can get on to the next thing. You're not wasting money. I've tried lots of things in my businesses, and after a couple of months, if it wasn't working, I just stopped it because it was costing me money. It wasn't giving me the results, and so it was like, try it really quickly and move on to the next thing. And as you girls know, that action is always the key. It doesn't matter. You can have the best plan, you can have instructions, you can have all these things about in your calendar, you can have the best time management, but if you don't take action on that, and I'm not saying that you have to take action. Let's look at Jeff Bezos, right? He takes action on what he's got to do, but he then gives all the other stuff to other people to go and do. And so if you've got the cash flow and you don't want to take the action, then you need to employ someone or bring a partner in who is action. It doesn't always have to be you. Sometimes it's better to go and give half your business away and build that business. One of the best sayings I heard was somebody tried to buy into my business, and I was a bit worried about it. And he turned around to me and said, Bobby, it's best to have 50% of something rather than 100% of nothing. So sometimes having a partner can help, but I get it's difficult. But Anna, have you got anything else to say before we come over to you?
No, I just thought it was very amazing. Thank you, Catherine, for that. I will do it with my marketing strategy at the beginning of next month to see my 5 why, to find out where am I lacking. Thank you.
Definitely. No, thank you.
Thank you to the people who are watching live now. We've got a couple of people. We've got Sean Hewitt. You guys, you know Sean Hewitt. Hi to Sean. And Peter's watching as well. So thank you so much.
Peter.
And this, guys who are watching, this is also recorded and ends up as a recording on my LinkedIn profile and across other platforms. Also, Caryn and Anna will get it as a copy to put onto their socials as well. But we're going to move on to Anna. Whenever you're ready, my friend, you can share your screen and take it away, and you can go.
Yeah.
Now we have to see if that practice worked. Anyone who knows about Zoom, it's always a bit awkward trying to get that screen shared, make sure it's working right, but you're all good and you're ready to go, mate, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about erectile dysfunction today. It's a case study and I called it from soft to hard because that's what actually happens. It either goes one way or the other. Let me introduce myself. My name is Anna Thellmann. I live in Shenyang in China with my partner and our 2 dogs. I'm the CEO and head coach of Thellmann Consulting, and I'm a sexual intimacy coach. I help women and men experience a fulfilled sexual relationship with themselves and with their partner. I'm a certified coach and NLP practitioner for over 8 years already, which is amazing. And I'm also the #1 emotional health specialist for experts here in Shenyang. So I work with hospitals when there is an emotional emergency. They call me and I go and look after the experts. Erectile dysfunction. I'm not a man, so I don't know how it feels, but it happens to 3 out of 5 men at one point in their life. I think we all assume that it happens mainly to men over 50, 60, but it also happens to men in their 20s. So there is no boundary, no border that it happens from a certain age to a certain age. It can happen at any point in your life. And 3 main reasons for it to happen are physical reasons, for example, that can be high blood pressure, that can be diabetes, obesity, that can be heart dysfunctions or prostate cancer, for example. So there are physical reasons why you can have erectile dysfunction. The other reason is lifestyle reasons. Smoking, legal and illegal substances. Overtraining, when you exhaust your body physically, or when you're training 5 times, 7 times a week, your body just feels weak and it might be hard to get an erection. And I think many men know the last one, the drinking. When you drink a lot or when you drink regularly, you might struggle to get an erection. And the last reason is the mental reason. So all the emotions that you carry with you, particularly stress, when it's in a prolonged period of stress, anxiety, guilt, and other strong emotions that you carry with you and that you don't get out. And I want to mention this particularly for the ladies, because I've spoken to ladies, and sometimes when their partner doesn't get an erection or struggles to keep an erection, they think it's because of the way they look. And ladies, 95%, it's not about the way you look. It has these other reasons. And it also doesn't mean that your partner is cheating on you, because that's what we associate. Oh, doesn't find me attractive, he must have an affair. Otherwise, it would work. So I just want to mention this because it's very important that as we've seen, it can have many different reasons. So let me introduce you to James. Name and pic is changed. And James is 23. And he is in a committed relationship for over a year. And he was used to having sex every night. And when he came to me, he didn't have an erection for 4 weeks.
Oof.
Yeah, so you can imagine the anxiety that he carried with him, because he thought, what if this is now how it is for the rest of my life? So additional to the underlying reason why he experienced erectile dysfunction, he now had this worry, what if this is for the rest of my life? Why is this happening to me? I'm only 23. On the other hand, he said to me, I find my girlfriend very attractive and I want to have sex with her. And sometimes I get an erection, but I can't keep it. So it's not fulfilling for him in any way. And he also thought, I'm too young. I'm 23. Why isn't this working? What's wrong with me? So I asked him, what do you want? And he said, I want to be normal again. So there was fear, there was anxiety, there was self-shame, self-blame, wondering, what have I done wrong? Why isn't this working? What's wrong with me? So what we did is we just went through these main reasons of erectile dysfunctions. And physically, there was nothing obvious. There was no history. He wasn't obese. He didn't have any medical issues that could indicate erectile dysfunctions. And I'm also not a doctor, so I can't diagnose this. So we said, okay, what we see, it's not that. And then we discussed his lifestyle. And he said, yes, I do exercise on a regular basis, 2 to 3 times a week, but it's not excessively. I don't take any muscle growth products. I sleep well. I even have occasional naps, which is amazing. And he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he doesn't eat fast food. So all in all, it looked like a very healthy lifestyle. Then we discussed the mental reasons. And he's at uni, so he said, yes, uni is stressful. And it's okay. It doesn't occupy my brain. I don't go to sleep thinking about uni. I don't wake up thinking about uni. So it is okay. And he feels comfortable in his social circle. So he has friends he trusts, likes to meet with them, likes to go out with them. And his family is very supportive. And his relationship is good. And what happened is that the body language, the eye movement, the tone changed when he said relationship is good. And I think, Caryn, you agree with me here when we can see it in our clients' eyes. We can see it when, okay, there is something going on. What aren't we talking about here? So we discussed, so what does a relationship is good mean? And he told me these couple of things, that she wants to get up at 5 in the morning. She wants to go to bed at 9 p.m. She's on a very strict diet. She only drinks tap water when they go out because she doesn't want to spend any money on any drinks. She never orders food, but also always wants to taste it from his plate. And she is very tidy. She cleans 3 times a week. She's also very jealous when he talks to girls, and she wants him to call him every 2 hours if he's not with her. Ideally, he's with her all the time. That would be her ideal scenario. And she never asks, what do you want? Are you happy? And she also thinks that he's cheating because of the erectile dysfunction that he's experiencing. So I asked him, what do you want? He said, I want to be an equal in our relationship. I want my girlfriend to ask me if I'm happy. I want her to trust me. And I want to have the freedom to go out, enjoy my time with my mates. And then it's okay if I call her when I come home. And I want her to be okay with me not staying at hers all the time. I want that freedom for myself. And what happened over this 1 year they have been together is she had her particular way, and James is a very calm person. He never said anything. He never said, why do you want me to do this? Why are you so commanding? I'm not happy with this. There was always these quiet thoughts in his head. Oh, again, okay, I know you want me to do this. Okay, I need to call you. Very quiet. So he never thought about that being an issue for him, because it was just this quiet thought that he had, and his demeanor was quiet. So there was never any anger coming to the surface. And when we talked more in depth about it, he said, I want a change, but I don't want her to change. And what that usually means is, I don't want her to be angry with me. I don't want her to go out of her way. I want her to be happy. So how can I make her happy and make myself happy? And what we did is we went into more detail about what do you want. And that also means we have to define some boundaries. For him, that meant, I want to go out with my friends on the weekends. I want to stay up till 4 a.m, come home by sunrise, and you are okay with it. And I don't need to call you every 2 hours. I text you when I go to bed, and I want you to be okay with that. So we had to define for every reason he gave me that he wanted and that he wasn't happy with, what are you willing to accept and where is the boundary? And these boundaries are usually flexible. So you set the boundaries for now, you try them out, and they are usually changing over time, because you might feel like, yeah, I can give here more, or I've given too much, I need to come back. I need to make it tighter, that boundary. And that also means he needs to talk to his partner about his new boundaries, about what he wants. Additionally to that, he wants to know, what does she need to feel safe in the relationship? Because her wanting him to call every 2 hours, her wanting him not to talk to other girls, it indicates that there are some trust issues. Maybe not because of James, maybe from her past, but it might be important for him to know why this is the way she reacts to it. And I want to put a side note out there. When you talk to your partner about your boundaries for the first time, bear in mind that there will be tension. Because if you never had boundaries, and if you never talked about your boundaries, this is totally new to them. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? What has changed? What is happening? And that is confusing, that is overwhelming. So they need time to adapt to that. I remember when I did it with my partner, it took us 3 days to come back to talking normally again and discussing the boundaries that I set. So just bear that in mind. And with all of that, after 3 weeks, his erection was back to normal. He cleared his mind, he cleared his thoughts, he talked to her. So they started talking openly about their emotions. They started talking openly about, what does he want? What is she willing to give? And the other way around. There is still tension in the relationship about these boundaries. And they're still figuring out what is the right amount of boundary that I want to give and I want to have. But he's back to his normal, which is amazing. So if you experience erectile dysfunction, I want to invite you, I want to give the offer to you that book a free consultation with me, that we talk about it, that what's going on in your life, and I give you a blueprint on how you could overcome that. And with that, I want to say thank you very much for your time, guys.
Beautiful, and well done with the client. You know, it can be something difficult, especially emotionally, for a guy to come forward and talk about it. And for me, obviously being a guy, I've been through it myself, and it's weird. Like it's just like you've got no connection. It's not connected. It's not turned on. It feels like it's not even there. You're like, well, what's going on? And for ladies, if we're stood there in our boxers, right, and we, you know, that shows that we want to do it. Sometimes we pull it down, and we're like, we can't control that. But we don't want you to think it's you. We don't want you to think that, because we are there in the action, getting ready to be there. We wouldn't be there if we didn't want to do that. And 99% of the time, we want to do it. I'm telling you, we want to. That's the whole point. Like, we love doing it. No doubt, girls love doing it as well. But sometimes it's more painful for us, because we're like, oh my God, you're going to feel ashamed. I feel ashamed. It just happens. And I've got a couple of notes here about Stephen Hawking's film. Have you watched that Stephen Hawking's film about Stephen Hawking? You should watch it, because he's got motor neurons disease. He leaves his first wife and goes to another wife and then has a kid. And this, in the part of the film, they're going, well, how can you have a kid? It's because the motor neurons disease isn't part of where the connection of the penis is. And so it still allows him to do that. But that means that it's not connected to, some parts of your body. And so it means that anything can happen. You could be fit and healthy, and you could be, not drinking or whatever, like this gentleman was. And you're kind of like, oh, and it's really painful. Not painful as in pain, but it hurts us mentally, because we're like, oh my God, well, that's one of the main things of my life is, we're born with it, we use it for lots of things, and then all of a sudden we start having sex, and especially when you're younger, you're kind of like going at rabbits, and then all of a sudden it goes, ugh, and you're like, oh, what's going on there? And you can't, you don't want to speak to your dad, because no one's ever told me about this before. So does that mean I'm weird if I go and speak to my dad? So this is why it's great to have you on the show, to be able to talk to people and say, hey, I guarantee you there's adults out there who just think it's them, because there's so many things that I don't think are about, it's only me. And so it's normal. And so my tip, as you get older, like my tips to people in relationships, and especially to girls, if you want action from your man, and everyone is different, I know, but from what my experience is that if you're an evening person, for me, that's not good, because I am tired. I'm out of, so you want to be doing it in the morning, full of energy. Let's get going. You've got that action. Once you start getting through the day, I start to think about things, and then, okay, well, in the evening, you want a bit of action. I'm trying to do it, but I'm also thinking about, what's going on at work tomorrow. I'm thinking about what this is. And I know you talk about that, Anna, about clearing your mind out as well. And it was funny as well. There's a TikTok trend at the moment, and it's quite funny, because what happens is, what it's about is how men don't last that long, or they don't have sex as often as women do, right? When you're younger, you've got loads of energy, it's great. But as you get older, you think, okay, I just want to get it over and done with. I want to do it, but I just want to and it was a TikTok trend. What happens is you change positions. And so let's say we've got, traditionally, the man is doing the work, traditionally. And so they switch it over, and these people aren't having sex live on TikTok. They've got their clothes on, but they're doing the actions of that. And they time the girl doing the thrusts. And they're going, oh yeah, I want 3, 6, 9 minutes. Okay, well, you go and now thrust for 9 minutes. Come on, do it. You can't. It's like, it is hard work, right? You're not saying all positions are. I'm just giving you an example of what goes through our mind, and you've got to make it easier. You've got to make it easier for us. If we are in that situation where it's not rising to the occasion, and it's going to happen, it happens even in the morning. It happens sometimes. You're like, what? This is weird. Normally it's ready to go and we can get going, but don't feel ashamed about it. You just got to relax. There's going to be other chances. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, you mentioned communication, and we talk about a lot in business, in life, and partnerships. The hard conversations are always the worst. You've got an employee who is not performing, that's a hard conversation. You've got a conversation with not getting it hard. That's also a very hard conversation for us to bring it up. And you took it, and the guy did the same thing that you were talking about sometimes I can have a conversation with my partner or whatever it might be. Let's say it's about business, and let's say my business coach is telling me to do something. In that moment, I am, oh, no, like, how dare you tell me what to do? But 3 days later, I'm like, you know what? This could be a really good idea. So take your time, have a conversation. And at the end of the day, the end result is you both want to have sex. That's what you want to do. And as long as you've got the same goal, whatever the steps are to get there, you can communicate it. It can be difficult. And, I'm going to throw it over to Caryn. Obviously, you have never come across it yourself personally. You've never dealt with that. But you know, I would imagine most girls have had that situation where the person, be it their partner or someone they've met on a night out, and it's not happened. So in your experience, how would it make you feel if somebody didn't rise to the occasion?
Yeah, I think exactly what Anna was saying. I think the natural part is, and what you're saying, Bobby, you do actually look at yourself, because that's your own insecurities popping up, isn't it? You're immediately going to that. And I thought what was really interesting about yours, Anna, as I wrote down a few things, was that part of when you asked your client, like, what did he want? I wonder, was that quite difficult for him to articulate what they want? Because I think sometimes when you're in relationships, even though he'd only been for a year, that's still quite a long time for a young person. Sometimes it's hard to know when you feel like you've been almost, it sounded like he was domineering, but initially, like, been told a lot what to do. And it's probably because he loved her and he really cared for her and he wanted to make her happy. That's usually where it comes from. And I think, was it hard for him to figure out like what he actually wanted versus what he thought he needed to want? You know how sometimes you go, I want this, because you kind of put limits on yourself because you don't think you're allowed to say what you want. And I was thinking that's probably part of the beauty of what you did, is allowing him to actually really dive deep in a safe space to kind of, well, this is what I want. I want this, and this, and to be able to then to go through the whole exercise of how do I now communicate this to my partner in a really clear and kind way, to put myself first. And that in itself is such a journey to kind of go through, right? It's just, I just wonder, how long does that, like, I mean, I know everyone's different, but how long is that sort of journey with the person? Is that, it depends, I guess, on whether they're open to just like to being open about it.
When they come to me, they are usually at the point where I want to
do something.
Yeah. So that's the great thing about it. They come because they are ready to say,
they want a solution,
even though they don't know maybe what is really going on underneath all of that, but they know I'm at a point and now something has to happen. And for him, it took a while to, when you asked me about, was it difficult for him to know what he wanted? I guess you have that experience as well, that people start with, I think that I want this. I said, okay, so how do you feel? How does that feel when you say that? So they have a perspective in their mind, what they are supposed to want, like you said. And then you go deeper and ask more questions to find out, okay, is that really what you want? Or is it something that you might see your parents doing or other couples doing? And that's why you think this is the right way to do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It would definitely be. It's definitely something that I think is really important, because especially a young person too, right? When you've almost spent, I mean, obviously not putting this person in a box, but you spent a lot of your time at that age, like you're in university, so you're going through schooling, then you're going to university, then you're getting a job, then you think in your mind, I need to get married, then I need to, all these, and then a moment when you actually slow down and someone says, what do you want? Hang on, what? That in itself can be. But the fact that at 23, you're able to ask those questions just helps him have that awareness about himself, which will just be, I think, just so valuable for him as he continues to grow up and his own growth.
It's also, this conversation is so interesting because it brings back so many memories of times that it's just like not happened. And I remember, most of the time, if a guy is going to sleep with a girl, there's some attraction there of some sort. Doesn't matter whether you think you're beautiful, whether you think you're ugly. If I'm there, if there's there for a reason, there's something that I like about you. But what's going through my head is, am I going to be able to perform? Not so much get it up, but am I going to be able to perform? Is it going to last 2 seconds? All these things that embarrass me. So all of a sudden, even like say I meet you in a club and we're going back in a taxi, all these things are going through my head from that point. It's not like we get there and all of a sudden it just, and this is the problem. We watch films and porn and we see how it happens there. We think that's how it's meant to happen. We're meant to just go in straight away. They don't show you the mind thought, the set that's going through. Like, it could be really embarrassing for me. I'm going to go and do this. It's going to be 2 seconds. And then what happens then? And so all these thoughts, and all of a sudden we start to put pressure on us. And all of a sudden then we can't do it because your body just kind of like closes down and thinks it's a risk and thinks you're going to be in danger. So all of a sudden you go, okay, well, I'm not going to do it. And then all of a sudden that then brings on even a crazier scenario, because you're like, okay, what happens now? And so many times when this has happened to me, that we just fell asleep and we woke up in the morning, and because it's that instant wake up and you're not having a chance to think about anything else, you're okay. It's okay to go. So just because it's not happening right there and then, but just to give you, again, to the ladies out there, or to the men, you know, if people are gay, it happens in all parties. It's what's going on in our head at that time. And even sometimes we can just go, I'm ready to, in my head, I really want this, but it's not happening. It's not, and there's nothing, but there's other things you can do, isn't there? We don't have to always have sex. So there's still something else you can do. There's still something that you can still provide a pleasurable experience to the person, and the other person can still do the same to you. I think we have to get rid of this thing. Just because it's not hard doesn't mean that we don't want, what's the word? Touch and feel and feeling loved and a cuddle and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't always have to be about that. We can do other things to be able to do that. And but Anna, we've had Peter's just commented on there, saying thank you for bringing this, this conversation. You always do that. You always bring a conversation that a lot of people don't want to talk about, and that's why I love having you on the show, because we have to bring this out. There's so many guys out there who will be thinking, if they watch this, they go, "Oh, it's not only just me." I'm guaranteed there's people who've committed suicide because they felt that they weren't a man, they couldn't do it, they couldn't provide this sexual intercourse to their partner. It happens. And I suppose it happens as you get worse, as you get older. Sorry, and so is that the facts? Is this going to happen more as we get older? To you, Anna, do you think? Do you know anything about that?
Actually, it really depends on your lifestyle and on your overall health. So it's all interconnected. You can't say yes. I mean, there are studies that show 50s, 60s upwards. It doesn't work as much as it was when you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, something to prevent that is actually masturbation. So if you masturbate 3 to 4 times a week, you risk that chance of erectile dysfunction in old age.
Well, they do say if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's not just, that's everything. Yeah. Like if you don't walk or you do exercise or do something, then those muscles just deteriorate. And I suppose it's just a muscle at the end of the day, isn't it? So
yes, and you also last longer then. So if you worry about how long will I last when I have sex with my girlfriend, by using it, like you said, by masturbating frequently, you will last longer.
I saw an interesting, again, TikTok, guys. I love TikTok. It has so much great information on it. People think it's just dancing and kids. Trust me, it's not, because I don't watch any of that. And there was a lady talking about premature ejaculation on there, and she said the problem is, especially in this day and age, is a lot of kids or teenagers are using porn, and what happens is they want to be really quick because they don't want to get embarrassed by the parent or someone coming in. But all that does is, like anything, it trains us. So when we do get a bit of action, your body's like, okay, well, it's just got to be quick. Boom, there you go. And so, practice it. You've got to practice it. I think it's called edging. We're going to say it anyway. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm going to call it what it is. And so that's what it is, taking it to that. And again, it's all about practice and training it and getting to that point and then stopping it, and getting to that point and stopping it. And that, elongates the ability, your skills and ability. And again, I've learned this from TikTok. No one told me it. I didn't have, my parents never spoke about sex to me, nothing. And so, the internet is an amazing thing. Obviously there's good things and bad things. You can follow amazing people on TikTok who are going to make you feel like you're not the only person. There's so many people in the world who go through it. And, you're a superstar, and to bring this to the table and to talk about it. And I've enjoyed talking about it as well. I think that we need more men to go, hey, it's all good. It's all right. We can get it. You can get it fixed. Speak to someone like Anna, who's going to help you work out the pathway to get that back to where you want to be. And Anna, do you want to say anything else, Caryn?
Yeah, I was just going to say, sorry, you were sharing before, Bobby, about from your side, and normalize it. And I think the important part, which you've already touched on, Anna, already, is that by sharing what you're sharing right now, what you're allowing is that for women to actually understand the other side too. Because we, like you said, we can't get in the head of that, but it's understanding, oh, okay, it's not just about me. And then realizing that there is a way through. And I think that's the part that, same, I have a son and a daughter. you only know so much about how you grew up, and a lot about what's happening now, I feel, is a lot of people are just opening up and having these conversations, because there was so much taboo around anything around this. And it was just navigating that, as you know, so many stories I've shared with younger people as they've come up and they talk about their first period as such, and all that sort of stuff. And now we're talking about it more, and it's so much better, just lifting the lid and saying it's natural. This is what's happening in our bodies and our lives, and to talk about it allows people then to know that it's normal, as opposed to thinking there's something wrong with them. And that's the saddest part. You mentioned suicide, Bobby, and I think there's so many things that I think in the world, not just around sexual stuff, that people feel is wrong with them, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's actually normal, and there's usually a solution. And I think it's so important, Anna, that you're doing what you're doing and you're comfortable to be able to speak about that, and to bring it out in such a way that talks not just about that to make it really sexualized. It's more about the person themselves and what's going on with them. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you. And I think that we have to educate everyone. So like Bobby said, and you, Caryn, with the suicides, usually the society puts pressure on us because they don't know any better. They just in their ways, in their traditions, in what they think is right. And by educating the women, the children, whoever, so we know then why is it, particularly with erectile dysfunction, why is it happening? What can we do about it? So we don't blame the man for, oh my God, you can't perform. And then him going out and being depressed, or worst case scenario, killing himself.
Yeah.
So education about this topic, Caryn's topic, it's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's you know, the world is built. I suppose it's around, you know, the 60s and 70s and 80s. It was always like the men just never, you didn't cry. You didn't have an emotion. This is the person you've got to be, and you're kind of molded by the past into what you're meant to be, and not talk about things. And you know, slowly these generations are changing. Probably talking about too much, I don't know. But you know, we've got to look at the past to be able to change what the future is about. And just because it's what our parents did and our parents didn't talk about it, doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And you know, I had, you know, a great upbringing. I'm not saying that, you know, well, you can tell I had a great upbringing because I rebelled at the age of 18 for about 20 years because it was such a good upbringing. But, you know, to have a conversation, my dad to turn around to me and go, oh, by the way, you know, I know you're having sex now, but just to let you know that sometimes it's not going to get up, but that's okay for you to do that. But because no one had that conversation, when it happens, you think there's something wrong with me. And it's not. If anything, it's thousands of years of evolution, and all you're doing is there's a fear or something inside of you that is triggering that. It's the same as imposter syndrome. It's like you're taking it out, and that's probably a good example. If you watch a lot of porn and you can't get it up, you're probably thinking, I can't perform like the porn star. Well, no one can perform like that. They can't even perform like that. That is just a film that's been edited. Like, you don't think Star Wars is real. Why would you think that is real? Like, there's action in it, of course, but you know, there's probably lots of times where they pause, and they take tablets to do that. They take the blue pill to make sure they can go and do that. You can't just keep going and going and going like that. That's impossible. But I'm going to wrap it up. And the last thing, I've already mentioned it, but girls, if I'm, or your partner or someone who stood there, to say not me, if I'm stood there with my pants around my ankles, don't call the police. But if your partner or someone on a one night stand or whatever stood there with their pants around their ankles and they can't get it up, they want to be there. They've got their pants around their ankles. Don't think it's you. They're trying to, you know, they want to be there. So thank you to Caryn, thank you to Anna, guys and ladies, and everyone who want out there. If you want to connect with the ladies, you can also reach out to me, or you can find them on LinkedIn, or you can come along to Bobby's Business Club and meet them one-to-one in person on a screen. But ladies, thank you for jumping on the show, and we will see you soon.